When things go wrong, as they sometimes will. When the road you're trudging seems all uphill. When the funds are low and the debts are high. And you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit. Rest, if you must, but don't you quit. Thus goes the famous poem by Edgar Guest. Our today's protagonist Fora Ashiru's story is no different. In 2020, Nigerian entrepreneur Fora Ashiru Jitubo made a bold move. She co-founded a fintech startup called Okra, a company aimed at streamlining financial services infrastructure across Africa by providing APIs for accessing bank accounts, analyzing financial data, and more. With a grand vision and an ambitious product, Fora turned to one of the world's most trusted backbones for cloud computing, Amazon Web Services. Like thousands of other African startups, Okra's back-end infrastructure was built almost entirely on AWS. At the time, AWS seemed like a no-brainer. It offered scalability, robust security, automation, and global reach, things every startup dreams of. But there was one catch: Okra, like many African companies, earned revenue in Naira, Nigeria's local currency, while AWS charged in US dollars. This mismatch was a mere inconvenience in 2020. By 2024, it had turned into a crisis. The bills were staggering, Fora told news agency Rest of World in an interview. As Nigeria's currency lost nearly 70% of its value between 2020 and 2024. Okra's monthly cloud bills ballooned. What had started as a reasonable cost quickly turned into a financial burden. AWS didn't accept Naira, and the worsening exchange rates meant Okra was bleeding money just to keep its cloud lights on. Combine that with Nigeria's broader economic challenges, soaring inflation, foreign exchange restrictions, and currency volatility, and the startup ecosystem found itself at a critical inflection point. It was clear to Fora and many others. This model was no longer sustainable. So in 2024, Ashiru took matters into her own hands. Okra decided to set up its own cloud infrastructure, with servers based in Nigeria and South Africa, sidestepping the need to rely on expensive US cloud providers. But Okra didn't stop there. Later that year, it spun off its cloud operations into a standalone company called Nebula. Nebula was built on a simple yet revolutionary idea: allow any Nigerian business to host their apps, websites, or workflows in the cloud, and pay for those services in Naira. Nebula became the newest player in a growing field of homegrown cloud companies that were quietly reshaping Nigeria's digital future. Fora's Nebula wasn't alone. In fact, a growing list of Nigerian companies have started providing cloud services tailored for local startups and enterprises. These include Nobus, Galaxy Backbone, Suburban Cloud, Layer 3. Each one is trying to carve out a niche in a market dominated by global giants like AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, who together control 65% of the world's cloud market. In Africa, their dominance remains strong, but their physical footprint is mostly limited to South Africa. Microsoft opened a data center in Johannesburg in 2019. AWS followed in 2020. Google joined the party later, with a center in Johannesburg. In contrast, Nigeria, Africa's largest economy and its biggest tech hub, had no such local presence until AWS launched a small local zone in Lagos in 2023. A local zone is a far cry from a full data center. That gap has allowed local players to rise. The biggest selling point for Nigerian cloud startups? Localization. Startups and businesses can now: 1. Pay in Naira, no more exchange rate nightmares. 2. Store data locally, meeting emerging compliance and data sovereignty laws. 3. Enjoy low latency. Servers in Nigeria mean faster response times. 4. Contribute to national digital sovereignty, a critical topic in an age of geopolitical tech rivalries. How does it sound for Nigerian voters' data to be stored in Europe? Ask Bruce Ayanote, CEO of Suburban Cloud. As long as we continue to ask this question, we will always arrive at the point where we build our own cloud infrastructure. Suburban Cloud runs a data center in Abuja. Its clients include Netflix and Google, both of whom benefit from the reduced latency. At Galaxy Backbone, Chidi Okpala emphasizes a similar philosophy: we are keying into our data sovereignty narrative. Galaxy, originally launched by the Nigerian government to streamline ministry communications, now operates 2 data centers in Abuja and Kano and serves both public and private institutions. According to Rest of World, at least 5 Nigerian startups have migrated from AWS and Azure to local cloud providers in just the past 2 years. For many, it's a cost-saving move. For others, it's about performance, data control, or philosophical alignment with local infrastructure development. One such company is Muster, a Lagos-based property tech startup. Founder Ugaku Okoro said the decision to leave AWS was driven by skyrocketing dollar-denominated costs. They switched to Gigalaya, a smaller Nigerian cloud company. Their services are great, Okoro said, but I understand a lot of users might not want to use them because of skill issues. AWS, he noted, offers seamless automation and plug-and-play services. Local providers, in contrast, often require manual integration, a skill many Nigerian engineers still lack. Still, the cost savings were worth it. Running a cloud business isn't cheap. Building a full-fledged data center costs millions of dollars, a tall order for most startups. The workaround? Colocation. That's when cloud providers rent space in third-party data centers, facilities built by telcos, banks, or big IT firms, and install their own servers. It's efficient, and it allows smaller teams to offer cloud services without breaking the bank. We run our cloud services out of third-party data centers in Nigeria, said Layer 3 founder Oyahe Idoko. Open Access, a leading data center operator in Africa, confirms this growing demand. We're seeing an uptick in colocation services driven by local cloud providers, demand for digital tech, and the need for local currency payments, said Obinna Adumike, the company's head of converged infrastructure. The shift hasn't gone unnoticed by global players. In January 2024, AWS made a dramatic policy shift. It started accepting payments in Naira. The move was a direct response to local cloud competition and the growing need for currency flexibility. Local currencies are important in localizing the payment experience for customers, AWS said in a statement. But for Nigerian investors like Iyinoluwa Aboyeji, managing partner at Accelerate Africa, the shift was inevitable. If you don't accept Naira, you're wasting your time, he told Rest of World. We advise all our portfolio companies to manage costs like cloud in Naira. Nigeria is a tech powerhouse. It's home to over 19,000 startups, 1,400 venture-funded companies, nearly $28 billion raised collectively, and it boasts 3 unicorns: Flutterwave, operating in e-commerce; OPay, operating in fintech; Interswitch, also operating in fintech. As the local ecosystem matures, there's growing awareness that infrastructure matters and that dependency on foreign platforms might be fine in the early stages. But it comes at a long-term cost. Cloud isn't just about storage and processing. It's about control, access, and increasingly, national sovereignty. Local providers have their work cut out. As Okoro from Muster rightly pointed out, there's a skills gap, and global platforms still offer better automation, interfaces, and developer support. But momentum is shifting. In the long term, the Nigerian cloud story might echo what we're seeing globally, a regionalization of the internet. Just as the US and China build walled-off tech ecosystems, Nigeria and other African nations are starting to own their infrastructure and control their data. It's not just about saving costs anymore. It's about owning the future. And for pioneers like Foro Ashuru, that future is already here.